Welcome to the Business and Beards podcast, spotlighting Miami County businesses. You bring your business and we'll provide the beards. Hello and welcome back to the Business and Beards podcast, where you bring your business and we'll bring the beards. I'm one of the co-hosts as always, Parker Stotts with Go Brawley, and I'm joined with Buddy Shaw. And today on the podcast, we've got Dr. Elizabeth Wilcox with Louisburg Animal Clinic.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. I know you've been a business owner for quite a few years in Louisburg, right? So when did you start the business and when did you open it up?
So I bought the practice from Dr. Fred Dehoff in October of 2015. So we're coming up on our 10th year of business.
Congrats.
Thank you. It's been great.
That's awesome.
So I did a little digging beforehand, noticed you were a K-State graduate. Was there anything before you settled in Louisburg? Would you kind of tell your story before you decided to go from Louisburg?
Sure. So I grew up north of here in Overland Park and Shawnee Mission North, and I knew pretty early that I wanted to be a veterinarian. I was the kid that people brought baby birds to, always in with the dogs and the cats and all like that. My grandparents paid for horse riding lessons when I was small.
That's awesome.
So that was always the interest and that was always the goal. So was able to go to K-State. I got my animal science degree, and then I graduated in 2006.
Awesome.
So,
well, very good.
Yeah.
So did you immediately jump to Louisburg to start, or?
No, I worked at a couple different clinics. So I started out working in North Georgia, actually.
Wow.
I was drawn to that clinic because they worked for a gorilla sanctuary.
Oh, wow.
So, got to see a lot of exotic animals there, including Oliver the gorilla. And, I really liked that. It was beautiful. I was single at the time. It wasn't much of a dating scene in North Georgia mountains. So I moved back home, and I've worked at a couple of low-cost spay-neuter clinics. And then I decided, you know what, I want to work for myself. So when I found the opportunity is when I bought the clinic.
Yeah, now you get the joys of working for yourself, which 10 years as a business owner is a long time, right?
It
More
is.
like 40. It's kind of like dog years, you know?
It seems that way. My parents were small business owners as well, so they owned a used bookstore, so it's maybe in the blood.
Awesome. That's fantastic. That's super cool. And you have a kid?
Yes, I have a son, Liam. He's a sophomore at Louisburg Schools here, so you may see me out at the soccer games or watching him in the marching band.
That's awesome. Does he help out at the vet at all, or is he kind of laid back a little bit?
He's a little squeamish about some things, so he's actually really good with the animals and not scared or anything. He's had to step in, but when I try to get him to really get on the payroll, he's not so interested.
Yeah, just make him walk the dog.
Exactly. Well, that's one of those things you have to learn real fast on certain things like that. There's no options. So if you would, let's talk a little bit more about the vet clinic, because with going in 10 years, I'm sure there's a lot. Have you guys always been a particular focus? I haven't seen any corrals or anything like that there for the large animal side, but would you kind of walk us through, is it just cats and dogs? Do you do some exotics?
Sure. So we see a few exotics. So the bulk of what we do is dogs and cats. And, when I bought the practice, I stopped seeing like the large animals just with me being there alone. Dogs and cats are plenty to focus my energy on. So that's mostly what we do. There's none of the Earth's creatures that I wouldn't see, but just even though we have the willingness, sometimes we might refer someone with an exotic pet to someone with a little bit more experience in that area. I did spay-neuter surgeries for so many years that we've spayed some potbelly pigs, some, rabbits. So we do a little bit more exotics in the wellness surgery department.
That's awesome. So what's been the biggest transition that you have had to focus on going from employee to employer, with the vet being in the vet business?
I mean, definitely juggling all the balls. You have to keep all of those things in the air at once. And so it's not animals and their people, but also, our most recent fun thing is we have a pump grinder. So this is something I didn't even know existed that now I know I have problems with. So, getting the plumber out there and keeping everything working. I've been very fortunate in that I got the office manager that has been there since 1998. So Stephanie Harper, and she's a Louisburg local, and she knows the community, and she helps with a lot of that, keeping things going.
Yeah, it's important to have somebody you can rely on. That's awesome.
A strong staff is so crucial.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk a little bit more about your staff. So you talked about Stephanie, who's the backbone. Would you want to talk and give some shout outs to your team a little bit more here?
So yeah, I'm really happy that everyone I've got there now has worked for over a year. I mean, we celebrate everyone's anniversary with like a little card and a gift card, and so we have Jeannie, who is working the front desk. We have Tanya and Megan down in the kennels. Emily works downstairs in the kennels and upstairs. We have Hannah, who helps in the rooms, and I just know I'll leave someone out. We have Erin, who's actually in tech school, veterinary technician college at Maple Woods. So she's in her third of 3 years there. So that's another area where I love to maybe see someone come in working in the kennels and then maybe go off to tech school or vet school. Give community members a place to kind of grow and try things out is another kind of difference being the owner.
Yeah, legacy is a big deal when you become a business owner, and I'm learning that a little bit as I go. And obviously, you're a few years ahead of me, so that's fantastic. To run a successful business, I think they say like the average business owner is bankrupt or quits within 3 years. So to make it past that is just a feat of its own, and to make it a whole decade is awesome. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
But yeah, no, that's a fantastic feat, especially entering your tenure. I know that's one of the things we did with Go Brawley too. We just are finishing up our 10th, going into our 11th year. I haven't been around that long, so I'm still the new guy in the area with that. But one of those things that you're kind of doing, it seems like a lot of your stuff is word of mouth for vets. Is there any type of additional advertising? I know you wear a lot of hats already, but how do you guys spread the word? Because we've heard great things about Louisburg Vet Clinic.
Thank you. Well, maybe my sixth man, my unpaid employee is the sign we've got out front. So people in the community,
so funny. Every time we drive by.
We try to put puns out there. We put jokes occasionally. We'll put special offers out there. So that's very helpful. We occasionally will put ads out in our local papers, so the Herald, but a lot of word of mouth, a lot of sponsorships. So we like to support like the library and the band and the cider run. So we try to give back where we can and hope that maybe word comes around.
Yeah, every event I've ever been to, you guys have been on the docket. So it's always good to see a long-term business still is incorporated in the community as you have been. Because, frankly, sometimes you get into a small community, you get established and kind of let go. And so the fact that you haven't done that is also a huge presence. So that's great.
But perfect. So that's about all I have. So if you don't mind, Dr. Elizabeth, do you have some other things you'd want us to talk about we haven't covered? I know we've kind of covered the vet side. Is there some more that's offered at the veterinary clinic that you guys don't typically, that most wouldn't know about?
Well, people do ask about boarding. So if you're leaving town, we do offer boarding services at the clinic, both for our clients and for non-clients and patients. And I think we may be one of the last local providers of boarding. We do not provide grooming, so we refer people to Morgan at the Hound Lounge.
Yeah. Great connection.
She's great, yeah. Let's see. We do a lot of surgical wellness care, taking out lumps and bumps. Yeah, come around. We really like to have a conversation about care. So the one thing people might not like about me is I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'll give you options, and we can talk about them, but if you want to be told what to do, I might not be your jam.
Well, and I'll give you a shout out there. So, and I won't say who we used before we moved here, but we used somebody up in Johnson County, and like it was a habit. Specifically, I had to go, and my wife couldn't because it was so pushy, and my wife is so like, yeah, tell me everything and lead me. And all of a sudden, one little vet bill is $780, and I can't explain why. And when we first brought Crowley in, like it was very communicative, it was very suggestive. You took the time to figure out what needed to be done now, what could be done later, and honestly, just that lack of pressure made me feel so much better. So I'll give you a shout out there. Crowley will be your client forever, and he loves it. He's excited. He pees everywhere every time we try to take him. So
we get that a lot.
You guys have been fantastic. So we're happy to use you. We'll continue to use you because it's been a worlds of difference between what we experience in the big city versus what we've had down here. And honestly, the prices have been very fair. You know, and some might say a little low, but very fair. And we're excited to have that burden, and hopefully you guys continue to have a ton of success.
Thank you.
We have one last parting gift, buddy, if you would.
Yes, our unbearded foes get some beards, so you can either try that on or you don't have to. But ultimately, the best beard award goes to you know who.
Exactly.
And
our guest
we've
today.
had a great time.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Dr. Elizabeth Wilcox, thank you for joining us today. This ends this session. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and keep growing.